In this video, we're going to start matching the pointing for Psalm number 1, which we have done, with Psalm tone 7, which in very simplified form I have put here. So if this is unusual or if this is unfamiliar, that probably means you haven't watched the last video, so I would encourage you to stop this one and go watch that one. But for this one, we're going to try to match up what we have here. If you are paying attention, I have taken out the flex, and I've picked one particular ending, that's ending 2 or ending B, as the case may be, for this psalm tone. So now is probably a good time as any to get some nomenclature out of the way. I'm going to say some words which you absolutely do not have to know to be able to chant the psalms. However, I'm going to suggest that if you might not need to know what these things are called, but you do need to know what they mean in order to read this music. This is definitely not written like modern music is written. This is an older style of notation. These, which I've been calling notes, and I'm still going to call notes, technically not really called a note. It's called a neume. N-E-U-M-E is the word there. So we would call, say something that we saw in modern music like a quarter note. We'd call that a note. This is called, strictly speaking, a neume. And this one, it would be called a punctum. That's just my little square that's filled in. Basically, we give this one count or one beat, just like we would a quarter note. And all of that is fine. Again, you don't need to know any of that. What we're going to focus on here are these two little structures, which again, you don't need to know what they're called. I'm going to tell you, but you do need to know how to read them. This guy right here, it looks like two of these connected. This one has a little stem. This is called a clivus. The clivus looks like this. And it is sung as a descending figure with this note happening first, followed by the second one. So in this case, I would sing da-da. It would all be on one syllable though. I said da-da. I really shouldn't have said that. I should say da. This is one syllable. We spent some time in the past few videos talking about how each of these neumes or each of these punctums gets one syllable. This actually is an exception to that. We've got one syllable spread across two notes. Da, da. I'm trying not to articulate it. Da, one syllable. That is a descending figure. This is called a podatus. It's two neumes connected, and they are vertically oriented, connected with a stem there. This is similar to a clivus, but it is ascending. The bottom note is sung first, followed by the top note. So for this one, they're just a step away. This would be ah, ah. This might make more sense when I'm able to put some syllables to it in just a second. So one syllable of a word sung on two notes, ah, downward for the clivus, upward for the podatus, ah, and I'm singing it actually a little bit wrong, ah, this should be just a half step here, ah, I'll do that one more time, ah. So this might make some more sense when we get to putting words to it. So you do not need to know clivus or podatus. At least you don't need to know the words, but it will be quite helpful if you understand what this notation means, right? The descending figure happens with the offset neumes. The ascending figure happens with the neumes that are on top of each other. This does not have to be a simple step. It could be farther than that, but you always sing the bottom one first. That's the takeaway from that. All right, so now with that said, let's look. I'm going to fold this over. I'm probably going to fold this top too so we get rid of all of that stuff that we don't need to know about. I don't want it to distract us. There we go. That's perfect. Now I'm going to start matching up my pointing with my psalm tone. So let's take care of this introduction first. As we've pointed out, the only time you need to worry about this is on the first line of the first verse. And in this case, that's just going to be the first word. Look, there are 2 syllables here, blessed. I will say it is a good idea to adopt the older pronunciation of any ED word here. We in modern English would say blessed. Blessed is the man. Psalm pointing and psalm tones and psalters in general I expect you to use 2 syllables here. Blessed. Will we always have to do that? No. But most words like planted have those syllables built into them. This word used to, it's just because of this particular construction where it's easy to go from S to D, sound-wise, we have started to drop them. I'm going to adopt the convention that for words like this, I'm going to say blessed and not blessed. So I'm going to consider this to be 2 syllables. I'm probably not going to do that for walked. You will find some chanting guidelines that tell you to do that. That just sounds a little bit silly to my ears. It's a little archaic. I'm doing a video on chanting. Certainly archaic is no barrier to me. But for words like this, I'm probably going to go ahead and say walked. And that might be inconsistent. It's just going to, so be it. But for this, I'm going to say blessed. And that's important here because each syllable gets matched up to one of these figures. So this is the first syllable, bless, and this is the second syllable, said. So if I'm going to sing this, blessed, I'll do that again. Blessed. Remember, this is a descending figure on one syllable. Blah. And this is an ascending figure on one syllable. Sad. Right? And that takes us right to the reciting tone. Da, 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 da. Right? So let's go on from there. The accent here is going to sound thusly. Da, 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 da. If you are into solfege at all, do is here. That makes this fa. Do, ti, do, re, 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 fa, mi. If you don't know solfege, that part doesn't make a whole lot of sense, so I will stop doing it. But you can just listen and kind of grab onto the melody. Da, 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 da. So, da, if I finish this out, let's ignore this note for now. Actually, let's ignore this note. Da, 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 da. So let me just sing that on a neutral syllable. Da, 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 da. So that's the melody that we're looking for. Those are the actual notes. Let's match it up with our words. So we've already figured out blessed, and then on the tenor, or on the reciting tone, is the man who has not walked in the, here is my first, well, it's not my first accented syllable, but it's the first one I've written, right? It's my second to last accent, my penultimate. That accent is here. This accent, of course, is here. So if I need to match up count with here, God with here, and that leaves me, of course, cell of the un in between them. Well, that's what these notes are for. The expectation is that I have at least one syllable between these 2 accents. Any other syllables, that's what this neum is for. This tells me to put those syllables here on that note, which is the same note as this. And then when I am ready to hit the final accent, I drop down for the final accent. And again, I have one syllable after this, but notice I have more than one neum after this. The expectation is that I have at least one, which is here. But if I have more than that, I can just put them onto this note. Occasionally, as in this line, actually as in this line, my last accented syllable is on this, We covered that in the last couple of videos, but I'll go over it again here when we get there. But for now, let's see if we can handle this first line to this first phrase. Blessed is the man who has not walked in the counsel of the ungodly. In my ears, it's a little awkward to have this many syllables in between it, but it's not awkward enough to where I want to go change it. So I'm going to leave it. Blessed is the man who has not walked in the counsel of the ungodly. Counsel of the ungodly. Actually, technically, I should go godly. This is my extra note, but it's the same note, so it's not that big a deal. Counsel of the ungodly. Try it with me. Blessed is the man who has not walked in the counsel of the ungodly. And that's my first phrase. Asterisk here lines up with my asterisk here. And after that, I've got the second phrase. So I've got two accents. Seat is going to line up here. Scorn will line up here. So in this case, I've got one syllable after my last accent. That is going to drop down here. In this case, in the first phrase, they were both the same note. Here they are not. What this is telling me is if I have only one syllable after this accent, it goes down here. If I've got more than one, they're going to be put here. So let's see if we can just go right to singing it. My reciting tone is about da right there. Nor stood in the way of sinners, and has not sat in the seat of the scornful. So I slowed that way down so that you can hear it. Da, here's my reciting tone. Not sat in the seat of the scornful. So I'm matching up the accents. And the last syllable just goes here. Nor stood in the way of sinners, and has not sat in the seat of the scornful. So I've got two syllables in between. They both go here. Again, if I had more, that's fine. I just put them all here. But on this last, I don't have any extra syllables between my last accent and my last note here, so I just go right to it. Okay, so let's see if we can do the entire line. Introduction only on blessed, not even on but, his, or and, he, or his leaf. It's only on blessed. Here we go. Blessed is the man who has not walked in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stood in the way of sinners, and has not sat in the seat of the scornful. All right. I would encourage you to pause the video and try to do that and see how you did. Sorry, this is a little accordion-like, so it's moving around. I'm trying to keep that from happening. Let's do that one more time. Blessed is the man who has not walked in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stood in the way of sinners, and has not sat in the seat of the scornful. All right. How'd you do? I'm assuming you did fantastic, so we're going to go on. We'll tackle a couple more lines. I'm not going to go through this line by line, but there are a couple things to look at. The first, fortunately, is in the very next one. The issue here is in the accented syllable being the last of the line, whereas in my tone, it's not. So, as I mentioned a few videos ago, I have been unable to find a consensus of scholarly opinion on this subject. So here's what I do, which I've found people that do this and found people that don't. For the first phrase, right, if this is the first line of the verse and this is the second line, for the first one, it does not actually matter if you end here or here. So there's two ways of thinking about it. This is what I don't do. I don't slur the word Lord up a syllable. I just leave it here. I will do that if it occurs at the last syllable, like it also does in this verse. Here's what I mean when I'm singing this. but his delight is in the law of the Lord. That's what I do. It is there. I found some people that will do this. They don't end here. They will go on to the last note. They will just put these two notes on the one syllable. But his delight is in the law of the Lord. Which one you do should be the one you like best. Again, this is not you're not getting graded. This is not a musicological exercise. We're just trying to chant some songs to our Lord. So if you like slurring up, do it. If you don't, don't. That would be my suggestion. I am always going to do it on the last one, though, because the tone is designed to be ended here on this note. So I am going to do that on the second line. And on his law will he meditate day and night. That did not do that well, so let me do that again. And on his law will he meditate day and night. Right. Again, that might be inconsistent, but this is what I found people doing. So this is the way I learned how to do it. Again, if you don't like it, you can feel free to do something else. That is totally fine. Not a right or wrong way, at least in this case, to do it. So if I'm going to sing this entire verse, let's try this. And remember, do not do the introduction because that's only the first verse. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law will he meditate day and night. That's how I will sing it. You might sing it a little different. But that's this issue. That's what happens when you have the accent on the last syllable. That's how I handle this. Let's look at this line. This is the one we kind of thought we'd have a problem with, due season, because these are so close. What that would mean, of course, is that do comes here and see comes here, and there's nothing in between. Let's see what that sounds like. This is the second phrase, so I'm starting here. That will bring forth his fruit in due season. There's nothing wrong with that, but that does not sound to me like the chant itself. Let's try that again. That will bring forth his fruit in due season. So I'm just skipping this note. I'm going to say that I don't really like that. So I'm going to make the change. I'm going to take this accent off of do and put it on fruit. I can think of some phrases where this probably would not go well, but in this case, remember, I had a little question about this. Fruit in due season as opposed to fruit in due season. Both of those sound natural to me, which is what we're going for. So I'm, just for musical purposes, going to put the accent here. That will bring forth his fruit in due season. That sounds better to me, to my ears. Again, if it doesn't to you, that's fine. So if I'm going to sing this verse, and he shall be like a tree planted by the waterside, that will bring forth his fruit in due season. That seems natural to me. Waterside, notice, has two syllables after the accent. Waterside, no problem. Fruit in due season. I'm off of the pitch, but let me try that. That will bring forth his fruit in due season. That works for me. All right, and the rest of this proceeds the exact same way. If you are looking for a flex, I haven't talked about flexes. I might do that in a later video. But if you're inclined and you can read through the notation and on the flexes, which I have taken off of this, there's no flex here. This line would probably be a good place to try to put one of those in. Just the length of it says that you might need something here to break it up. I'm not going to do that here. Like I said, we might do a separate video on flexes, but I never use them. In my mind, that doesn't really increase my devotion, which is my guiding reason for doing this. Okay, so that's the principle here. That is tone 7, the second ending. See if you can make your way through the rest of this and see what you come up with. And then hopefully in the next video will be a performance video of some of my friends and I singing it, so that you can match up what you did with what we did. Doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong if it doesn't match up, but you might hear something you like.